Get them fired up and get them to the staging lanes, baby, because 8th Mile Apparel is now carrying Going Bracket Racing merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more can be yours today by visiting 8thmileapparel.com. We appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the Going Bracket Racing YouTube and Facebook pages.
Back at you with another episode of GBR live on Tuesday night, like we are every single Tuesday night on Facebook, YouTube. Where else are we? Podcast, all the podcasts everywhere, man. We're on Spotify too. If you want to subscribe, click subscribe. It's free. Don't forget to click it. All y'all are watching it and you're freeloading on us, man. You got to click that subscribe button. It's free anyway. Help us out. Help us out with those numbers. Thank TSR Racing Products for your Power Glides, Turbo 350s, 400, 727 transmissions, parts and accessories, BRG 3D printed parts, anything you need, Brian Garrett will print it up for you over there. Got any kind of weird part you need for your car, you can't find a part, nobody makes one, Brian Garrett makes it. So give him a call, tell him the dimensions, he'll print it up for you, get it out there in the mail. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas, shirts, stickers, t-shirts, brochures, anything you need over there. Call Duffield and he will get you in order, get that business to make you some more money so you can buy some Driven Racing Oil. And if you do buy Driven Racing Oil, use code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off. They also sell transmission fluid, rear end oil, anything you need. The oil for the truck that you tow with, cleaning products, all that stuff, man. GBR10 gets you 10% off your order no matter how much you order. Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com. Shop for your tools, for your shop, for your engine building process, carburetors, starters, alternators, radiators, accessories, and much, much more. And, of course, Crew Chief Pro software. Get that dial in order. I need a little help this weekend. Got some Crew Chief Pro input and got that dial in order. And, of course, the Easy Light whenever you're filling that car up in the middle of the night, especially if you're running alcohol. You can't see that out there in the middle of nowhere. You can't tell me you can, but you can turn on that Easy Light and you can see where the fuel level is so you don't waste it. Even though it's cheap, you don't want it to go on the ground. And, of course, 8thmileapparel.com. That's the place you get these nice hats, these nice T-shirts. And, of course, y'all need it. You know, if you're going to the WFC here in a couple weeks, you definitely need the Piss on Delay Boxes shirt. I'm just telling you. Go visit 8thmileapparel.com. All you foot breakers, you've been saying forever, we've been laying down on the foot brake crowd, but we got something to support you guys. So go out there, 8thmileapparel.com, and check on the No Delay Boxes GBR shirt. It's got you an American flag on it. It's ready. It's literally ready for the WFC, man. There's nothing more American than the WFC. You got a GBR logo with the American flag in it. And, of course, you got that delay box with that bad little kid on the back. So, George, you know, I had a lot to say there. I'm just saying, we'll just give you a chance for once.
I don't got nothing to say, man. You might as well keep going. Especially, shoot, talking about that WFC coming up. Actually looking forward to watching that race. Maybe down the line I'll X that off of one of my things with things to do. I'm not a known bottom bubber, but I ain't scared to give it a shot. Let me put it that way. So, watch out. You might see George on the bottom before it's all said and done, especially if I got a shot going to Bristol to run the WFC. That's where it's at, right, Casey? Up at Bristol?
That's right, man. July 4th through 7th. I just pulled it up over here. You can still pre-enter, guys. July 4th through 7th.
Yeah, shocking that it isn't sold out yet, you know?
Yeah, you can still pre-enter June 24th, $650, get you into triple 20s over there on off the foot, man. And literally the coolest track in the entire country, more, you know. I think there's a lot of people that would vote it way, way up there if they don't vote it the best. It is definitely up there, bucket list. And you can take your wife on vacation. So what's better than that?
Nice, nice. I see in the YouTube chat, I'm going to steal from you real quick, Casey. I see old Wayne Duke says he done something pretty fun over the weekend and bought him a car. Got a 29 Street Roadster, and you'll be seeing us soon at the track. Come on, man. You gonna get your piss on delay boxes? You gonna throw a box in that bad boy? Which one you trying to do? Off the top, off the bottom, in between? Don't matter. Bring it out there. Let's have some fun, man. Welcome back to the seat. I'm pretty sure I think you said it'd been a while since you had a car. So if I'm not mistaken myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but hey, that's pretty good for this topic. You know what I'm saying? Hearing somebody just got another car, because guess what it's going to take? Guess what it's going to take? Casey, we're going to dive into that real good here in just a second on what it takes to turn on those wind lights, understand what's really going on out there on the racetrack, figuring out where your spot is on the tree. All that stuff is relevant to the one subject that we're about to talk about today. But before we get going, Casey, what else you got for us, man? I heard you had a pretty solid weekend. I'm pretty sure we're going to use your weekend a little bit to kind of tie into this conversation.
Yeah, man. So obviously the topic for today, it says it right in the title, episode 158, the necessity of seat time. And I took 3 weeks off before I went racing again. This is the first time that I've been back to Galot Motorsports Park this year. Josh Peak as the track manager, man, he's running them through there. I love the fact that, we had a lower car count this weekend, a low car count for Galot, still like over 100 entries for top ET alone. So it's not really low compared to everybody else, just low for us. But that was because they had the Sean Sarah Memorial race in Darlington right down the road. So, I mean, we weren't terribly low. We might have been like 30, 40 entries low because a lot of guys went down there that I personally know a lot of guys that went down there that would have been doubled. But anyway, gotta shout out Josh Peak for running them through there, because there was no downtime unless there had to be downtime. And anytime that cars were going out of the lanes, they were calling more cars up to the lanes. And I really appreciate that, because there's nothing worse than just dragging your feet during the race and everybody's like, why are we jacking around? So I'm glad to see that he's doing that, and I'd like to see more of that in the future. So I have nothing but good things to say about new management at Galot Motorsports Park. But TG Pascal made me look like an absolute idiot twice on Sunday. Talking about seat time, TG's got a whole lot of it, man. By far one of the best racers in North Carolina, possibly, in my opinion, probably top 10 racer in the entire country. His brother is also right up there. But TG in specific, we'll talk just about on Sunday. I'm down to 14 cars, and I'm rolling up there, and I said, I'm not 100% certain what I can run right now, but I'm pretty close to where I think I can run. And I'm riding up here, and I said, just don't let me have TG. Just, there's me, TG, and 12 other dudes. And I'm like, just don't let me have him. Well, what do? I roll up there, and I said, oh, good, I got the guy in front of TG. Nope, somebody hadn't pulled up all the way, so I had him. And I said, man. So I go up there. The short story on it, I'm 008 on the tree. He's 007 on the tree. So we're essentially dead even. Right about time I'm about to roll out the throttle, he comes up here next to me. He's in front of me for like literally a split second, and then just drops back. And all of a sudden, about time I'm about to roll out the throttle, he pokes his wheel in front of me, and I know he was in front of me. And I looked back, and all of a sudden I don't see him anymore, and he drops like about to my door. And I end up being 008 on the tree and 2 thou under. So I'm showing him 6 total. After it's all said and done, he's 7 on the tree. And I've been analyzing it ever since it happened. And I'm just like, man, and it's not a snare. Like, I don't really get mad whenever I lose. Like, I just like going racing for the most part. If I do good, cool. If as long as I don't suck, if I can get to about 4th round, 5th round, something like that, and just get beat by a flat out, like literally one of the best racers in the country. And I mean, I didn't let him have it, like I didn't miss it. I wasn't 20 or something. Like, I was right there. He could have easily give it back to me, if I had rolled out of the throttle, I probably would have, where I figured I would have done it, I probably would have been about dead 0 to dead 2, something like that. So he could have easily given it back to me, but I've been thinking about it ever since then. And I'm like, man, So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I have 5 different scenarios going on in my head, and I've been analyzing it over and over and over. And I'm thinking, okay, when we leave the starting line, he technically has 1,000 to get inside, right? You can't, no one can see 1,000, nobody. So with me being 2 under, like I said, I'm showing 6 total essentially when the race is over. He's 7 on the tree, so technically he has nothing to get inside the way the look that it's looking. In fact, the way it looks on the track until the scoreboards light up is he's 1,000 behind, which again, no one can see. Not me, not him, not nobody. So he made the right decision in the end. My question to myself was, did he give it back to me and get lucky, or did he see something that I did not see during the race? And it could be, I mean, the answer could be either one, and I would not be surprised if it was the fact of whatever he saw was going on or felt was going on. And I also want to say this wasn't TG in his dragster. And I mean, it's Kent Roundtree's Camaro, which is one of the best cars out there, and TG wins a lot in it, he races a lot in it. But I just wanted to make the point that it's not the dragster. So it's not his personal car. It's not the car he drives week in and week out. He does drive it a lot, but it is a door car and it's not his. So he can't just go test it and learn it and all this stuff. He just jump in the car, go racing whenever Kent tells him to. And I believe he won the whole race. So
interesting. Yeah, man. So this is a good place to dissect what everything you just said and kind of let it marinate a little bit. And feel free in the chat, chime in, let us know what you think about this particular lap. Casey, do you remember the margin of victory? How much stripe did you get?
I mean, he gave it me back, like, I want to say
12?
either 12
I'd say
or 20,
12.
12 or 22, something like that.
Okay, because the numbers, when you said you were 2,000 under and he's one above roughly, I'm hearing at least that 12 to 15 range at the margin of the victory at the stripe. And so this is what we're talking about, guys. Even Casey's already mentioned seeing 1,000 is almost impossible to see 1,000. If you took 1,000 at the stripe, you got lucky, okay? Especially if your win light's on. It is what it is. I don't know anybody who can see 1,000. Maybe people used to be able to say they could see it in the past. So if I'm speaking for myself, I can't see 1,000. Can't see it. I can almost feel like I got there first, but if it's 1,000, I'm not gonna be able to say if Jed brings the mic up to me, George, what were you on the tree? 005. Now I might be able to tell him that part, right? But hey, how much stripe did you take? I don't got a clue because it was that close. That's all I can tell you. You know what I mean? I don't know. So keeping everything relative, Casey, you said a few things. He showed you a wheel, and then he got behind you, and then he showed you a wheel again, and then sucked back on you again. You know, so that's something to think about. What are we out there? Let's go back. What do we do if we have no seat time and somebody pulls up alongside of us in that instance? You know what I mean, Casey? You saw TG Pascal pulled up. I know what's going to happen in my mind if I see Pascal pull up. I'm dialing honest, and I probably ain't going to look in the other lane. I'm just going to hold the gas to the floor. It is what it is. You know why? Because of what you already said. He can jump. He gets in his dragster, and he's got all the seat time you can think of. But he jumps in somebody else's car, he still has all the seat time you can think of, even if he's in somebody else's machine. And so what do I do? And I'm asking you too, GBR community, what would you do if you're lined up against somebody you know is a serious headhunter? I'm dialed honest. Casey, were you dialed honest? Were you holding a couple?
I mean, it was within reason. I mean, it wasn't anything insane. It was relatively close. The thing, Jim Simmons, you know Jim Simmons. A lot of people might know Jim Simmons. He's been around literally forever. I think he'd be mad if I call him too old, so I'll just go with 75. But I think he's been racing since he was 15 years old. So he's been racing 60 years. And what he's always told me since I was a kid, he's always said, whenever there's someone that's better at their game, how do you always say it? He always said, don't play someone else's game because they're better at the game than you are. That's why it's called their game and not your game. And I think there's a lot of people And I'm not really one of these people. I used to be. I'm not one of these people anymore that I'm not going to roll up here and think I can drive the finish line better than TG Pascal. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people in the country that I don't think can drive the finish line better than him. There's people who think they can, but someone like me who doesn't race week in and week out like I used to, I don't go double enter races and all that stuff like I used to very often. There's no shame in saying, hey, man, I can't do that.
Right.
As long as your car's good, you don't necessarily need to do that. For example, in that exact same scenario that I just talked about, I could have just as easily, I was 2000s, man. In a I was dialed 661. I went 660 with an 8. I'm talking a slow door car like that, a Nova, a big brick going through there that's slow, going 100 and some mile an hour, barely over 100 mile an hour. If the wind would have shifted, I'd have been dead zero. So, I mean, you can't be much quicker in a back half heavy door car with a little motor. That's pretty close, as far as going dead on. There's a lot of scenarios that could have changed that. But that being said, if he wasn't near me, if he was near me, my plan was I was going to roll off the throttle just a little bit right in between the cones and just kill a couple thousands, which turns out would have been the right call. But what he showed me did not allow me to do that. And again, he put himself in the best position to make me not be allowed to do that, to be able to then win that round, go to the next round, win that round, and inevitably, like I said, I'm pretty sure he won the race. You would think I would know that having raced there this weekend, but I haven't seen it pop up on Galat usually posts that. I haven't seen it pop up. I looked for it, but
let's digest this though a little bit more, okay? Because you said something there a second ago that kind of resonated with me. I see some comments in the chat that I'll also get back to. I see you out there, Darren Warren, and I see you out there, Matthew Medlin. We'll get back into your comments here in just a moment here, Casey, but you said something that resonates with me. You had a game plan, and this is the hard part about seat time. This is what's hard, okay? Because you and I are the average Joe. My old man said something to me that just hit me square in the mouth. Man, some of these drivers got more seat time, more laps down the track than you're going to experience in your lifetime already, okay? And that's a really, really solid point. And so people with that type of a resume or track record, no pun intended, have the ability to just do things to make you think that you can't do what you said you were going to do in the first place, right? And so Casey has already said to us, guys, he went out there. I don't know where you looked at Casey. I'd have to imagine you started looking at him, especially without knowing what he was dialed. But I have to imagine you start trying to find him somewhere around 400 feet, found him, spotted him, and he start coming around you, and then backed up off you, and then came around you again, and backed up off you again, in all of 200 and probably 250 feet, roughly. Okay, so that is a lot to do. So I can see myself just sitting there like, oh, the camera's right here, guys. Hey, I'm pointing at it, but man, what are you over there doing? Oh man, he in front. Oh, he behind. Oh, there go the finish line, and forgetting to get off the gas. Is that similar, or it was just that close? It's like, forget it. I'm taking the stripe with full pedal.
Really, what happened is he got in front of me just by a little bit, and then right before, like I'm talking, this all happened in the cones, and it everything in there. If you just look at the feet per second you're traveling and stuff like, even in a slow car, you just look at the feet per second you're traveling and look at the amount of reaction time you have and all this stuff. And he did. I feel like he knows exactly what he did. He got his wheel in front of me and then just fell right behind me. So he got like half a wheel in front of me and then right behind me. And in the time that it took me to realize that, the finish line had gone by. And again,
yep,
dude, that dude races week in and week out, wins a ton of races, wins a ton of rounds. I'd venture to say he probably wins more rounds a year than I even stage for, probably. I mean, that he's an extremely good racer. Everybody know that entire family, anybody with that, I saw they have a junior dragster now. I expect that kid to be phenomenal also.
Right. That would almost be like saying Peeps Pennington's, I think it's Peeps boy.
Right.
Is not going to be good driving a junior. And this dude's turned on more win lights than most of us already in a junior. So But no, Casey, we can keep going here. This is what I like here. As a matter of fact, hold on. Let me grab a couple of comments in the chat. First, I'm gonna hit what Matthew was talking about here. Matthew Medlin. He says he definitely didn't know he was holding. Hold on. He definitely didn't. He was holding and had to kill it. I think what he's trying to say here is that he knew he was holding something against you and had to kill it. Let's go a step further, Matthew. Let's take it a step further, man. And if we had to think about it as we've analyzed, Casey, we obviously know that Paschal has a more than one way to skin a cat. Number one, and within this race, he chose the right way to skin the cat. Okay, show you a wheel, get behind you. Show you a wheel, get way behind you in a sense, because he probably decked you with the brake to just send you flying. Because you said you looked and he wasn't there no more. He wasn't there no more. You know what I mean?
I don't know
So
exactly what he did,
because just happened here?
I don't know exactly what he did, to be honest with you, because the mile an hour didn't show that he just bombed the brake. I think he just finessed it. Like he just finessed it in.
He's past the mile an hour cone, Casey. Just like you said, it happened in between the cones. Mile an hour cone is irrelevant if he drops you inside those cones. And if he's got enough of the brake, he can still give you quite a bit of stripe in that little bit of time.
But I don't know. Whatever he did, he was way better at it than I was. I mean, that's it. And by the way, Matthew, we put about 20 miles on his four-wheeler this weekend towing my golf cart back because my freaking golf cart laid down on me. So now I got to fix it. So yeah, everything worked out good this weekend. And then now I got to fix the stupid golf cart.
Yep. But in a roundabout way, we can say that both drivers had a pretty solid plan, and to be 2,000 under taking 12, that's just that's a nice lap. It probably wins, in my opinion, or at least you have the ability to get back to dead on in every other race that round, but that particular race, if you know what I mean. So let's go to the starting line, however, Casey, and something that I have written down and something that I always take into mind when I stage and when my car reacts to that third yellow and the green comes on, or True Start tells me a few feet down the track that I went red, what I felt like, or where I felt my spot was when I let go of the button. Obviously, going down the racetrack, Casey, you had the ability to think, at least for the first 400 feet, did you grab the tree? In your mind, when you're going down the racetrack, did that ever dawn on you? Or because I know you're spread for the weekend, I know where you were based on talking to you for the weekend, as far as for finding the spot on the tree. You were definitely on the tree, good enough to take care of 5 rounds, because that's what you did, number one. But how'd you feel when you left the starting line? Did you even take it into consideration?
Oh yeah, on Saturday we raced Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, I couldn't get away from single digit red to save my life. And then Sunday comes around and I added some in the box, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to cover what I was doing yesterday. And I was 7, 1, I think 11 again, 1 again. Poor Daniel Morton. Both times I was 1, I ran him, one of my real good buddies out there. So now I'm 2 up on him. So now he's going to beat my head in next time. That's me and him go back and forth. He's the guy I always turn up next to in the lanes all the time. And so I was 1 twice, and then I was I want to say 7 again, and then 8 twice or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I was hitting the tree good. I was feeling good. That's really probably the best I've felt on the tree for a while, where I was really settling in. The air was funny. It was kind of moving everybody around all over the place. I got a couple buddies that I know have trustworthy, like, good cars, win a lot of races and stuff, and they said theirs was all over the place also. Most of the time, I mean, dude, out of those 7 or 8 runs I made or whatever that day, my car didn't vary more than 4 thou to the 330. But then I'm talking, there was like 2 runs where all of a sudden it's like a 100th slow in the middle, or like 100th fast in the middle out of nowhere. It made no sense. So, and theirs did the same thing at the same time. So I'd have to believe it's not my car. It's just something that was going on, particularly that round or whatever. But yeah, it's just some of those times where you gotta like. In fact, actually, TG beat me on one of those runs in my other entry. In like second round, I was in the right lane. He threw me in the left lane. And all of a sudden, I thought I could go whatever I could go, and it went like I rolled off the throttle, and it still ended up picking up like a number and a half out of nowhere. So it was just crazy deal. So yeah, TG beat me twice. So maybe that's why
the get back race was close. That was close.
Get back race was I gave him a run for his
everything
money.
you had, huh? So basically, guys, in a roundabout way, part of this conversation we've had so far, we've already talked about the finish line and things that are shown at the finish line. But I got one in the and maybe you want it, Casey, but I'm gonna steal it from you if you don't take it. It's Eric White's comment, and I'm looking at it. It's saying, I'm just gonna steal it. He was holding to be in front. That's right. Either he was holding or he sprayed you. Both of us know it's one or the other. Only you can say, all right, I heard that thing go balls to the wall at about 400 foot, and the next thing you know, he come motoring past me. Only you can say that, right? And then he says he's trying to show you that trying to get you to get behind. What he's saying is, all right, I'm going around this dude. If he backs off, and here he says, he still has to kill what he's holding, which is right. But if he can get you to give up the stripe first, he stays in front. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense, right? It's just another way of looking at it. And I'd never really given that much thought. It's like, oh, he's in front, but his game plan could be, I'm going to get in front and let you back up. And then I'm going to back into you while I'm still in front of you. So if otherwise, and you don't back up, you still on my door, I'm getting way behind you. But didn't we just talk about a whole nother way of racing that round? Because that is not what happened in your race.
But the thing is that whenever you have the level of seat time that TG has, he could be racing three different ways all in the same race, depending on what he's seeing. And it can all be subconsciously happening because it's literally your subconscious could be doing it. Kind of like whenever you're on the starting line. The best time you're ever going to do on the starting line is when you're not thinking about it. You're just like, bam, letting go, bam, letting go. You know, it's you're not really thinking about what's going on. You're just reacting to what's happening. And I feel like he's the type of guy, he could spray drop somebody. He could drive up in front of somebody and disappear. He could drive up on somebody half track and kind of womp, womp, womp and kind of feel like he knows where he's at. And I want to take it, even though I've been on top of him the whole time. Or, I mean, it's all about seat time, man. That's why we named this what we named this show, is because it's literally all about seat time. It's about knowing where you're at. The only way to know where you're at is to make run after run after run after run and understand what's going on and screw some stuff up and do some stuff right and put two and two together and think about it for a week and go back next week and then try something else and be willing to mess up.
In the grand scheme of things, without seat time, and Casey, you can answer this question, or the chat, you can answer this question too, but is it possible without seat time to actually have a game plan, but on top of that, execute your game plan? That's where I feel like there's a little bit of it's black and white. If you don't have the seat time, you don't have a game plan, in my opinion. You're out there, you're trying to race by the seat of your pants, for lack of better terms. What do you think, Casey? Is there a such thing as developing a plan without ever having practiced it or being inside of that plan before?
No, if you're developing the plan while you're going down the racetrack without even the slightest thought process to what you're going to do, then if you win that round, it's because you got lucky and the other guy let you win it, or for whatever reason, because you can't just go down there and be like, I'm just going to figure it out as I go. Because if you're just going to figure it out as you go, you might have been able to. In fact, I know that you could have done that 20 years ago because I did that 20 years ago. But people don't race like that anymore, man. People are so much better at racing. And we'll get into this topic here in a second. But people are so much better now. Like infinitely better than they used to be, by watching live streamed races, by just starting younger, by being the third and maybe even fourth generation racer now, and just building on someone else's knowledge that you can't just figure it out as you go anymore, because a lot of times you're racing, you're going down the track, and that guy in the other lane's lying to you, basically, is what's
That's right.
happening.
That's
That's
right.
what holding numbers, that's what it is, essentially. Holding numbers, if there was a definition in Webster's dictionary, would be your opponent is lying to you until the last minute.
That's
That's what they're
absolute.
doing.
It's absolutely excellent. I grew up playing pool, Casey. You and I met when I was big time into the pool halls, man. And I'm gonna be honest to you, my skill level on the pool table was far better than what I was on paper. And that's just the name of the game, and I guess that's why they call it sandbagging at its finest. Go ahead and find you that GBR shirt. If you're a sandbagger, just go ahead and throw it out there. Let everybody at least think you're a sandbagger. Just wear you a sandbagger shirt. But definitely, man, there's more than one way to do this. There's more than one way to compete. I know a lot of people who race and just dial it honest and then react. And I feel like that's probably the only way you can race by the seat of your pants. Regardless of what's happening in your brain, if you're able to say, I felt good off that tree. Or call it. A lot of times you can call it within a certain amount of thou. I know people who can. Okay. If you're able to do that, and you're say he's showing you 10 on the track, unless you completely missed it, which or your car runs off, there's one or the other, you know good and well he's got something to get rid of. So either you stay nestled up to him or you back off of it. But if you back off of it, you run the risk of doing what Eric White said. Letting him see you back off, and then he's now gonna back into you and take what you gave him. So again, man, there's a lot to learn from that one lap that you went through. We've learned several different things from one lap. Let's see how much we can learn in 100 laps. Okay, because there's a lot of people going to be out there running for the Twin 50s this week, right? Going to be a heck of a race too. Make sure you tune in. St. Louis is an excellent track. I'm pretty sure all of us have seen it by now, and if you haven't, Motor Mania is going to have it live on YouTube. So, but there are going to be a lot of laps out there at that race. A lot of laps every single round you look into, either from a local level or a big money level or an intermediate level. I happen to think there's 3 different hierarchies of bracket racing right now, but a lot of good racing is going to take place, man. I'm gonna tell you what. I think we got a good time to go to a commercial break. I want you to read some of the chat on the YouTube side, Casey, because it's buzzing pretty good over there. Maybe we can highlight one of those comments on the way out of commercial break. Hang in there, guys. We're not going anywhere. We're just getting a little seat time here on Going Bracket Racing, and make sure you like and share. Be right back.
Innovation never sleeps at Proform, and we're making our popular Black Race Series carburetors even better by adding new features that will set them apart from the competition. Some of the newest features include a newly designed main body with contoured Venturas for better airflow and a new inside and outside 2-step down leg boosters for increased atomization and better throttle response. Also, newly designed fuel bowls with increased internal baffling for better fuel control and a lower fuel ramp for reduced turbulence. There are also some new upgrades to point out. The fuel bowls now both include nitrofill floats, and the throttle base plate now has slab shafts for better airflow. These new features, combined with the fully adjustable high-flow main body with screw-in air bleeds, billet metering blocks, high-performance billet throttle base plate, and aluminum fuel bowls with sight glass windows, makes for a great street strip carburetor that packs a punch.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177. All right. Welcome back, Going Bracket Racing community. out there in the you're listening to us on the audio waves there in your truck on the way back home, or your car back home from work. You could even be on a motorcycle and just have us tuned in on your old iPhone doodad or whatever you got in your ears. Thanks for joining in on the Going Bracket Racing Show, episode 158. Definitely can't do it without Team 14 Motorsports, Ken Jones Performance, Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. 8th Mile Apparel, where you can get all of your GBR merch. BRG Motorsports, 3D printed racing parts. Casey already told you at the beginning of his show he can build whatever you want him to build, and I can vouch for that. I have several BRG Motorsports parts on my race car as we speak. Driven racing oil running through the veins. Definitely keeping everything nice and neat with my methanol burning small block mouse motor underneath the in between the wheels of my truck. And Crew Chief Pro is definitely on my laptop. And definitely need that. My Proform water pump is nice and tight. I'm keeping it good to go, keeping my car good and cool as we go down the track. TSR also provided me with my input shaft for this year because I had to get a new one when I bought a new converter. So if you need anything, feel free to look at all the marketing partners we have on the screen right here. And if it's dark in there, we'll turn on your easy light, and then you'll be able to see it a whole lot better. So, Casey, man, we're out of commercial break. Tell me where we're going on this conversation here today.
Math time. It's math time, George. You know how I like to do that.
Shoot, here we go.
So,
everybody, hang on to your seats. We're doing some math.
I'm telling you, man, this gonna blow your mind now. It's gonna blow your mind. I'm telling you. So, why does everybody seem so good today? Number one is flat out because they are. But why are they so good today? Why are the young kids that come up so like there's no such thing as, all right, you were a good junior dragster racer, now you're getting fed to the sharks, like now we're going to see really how good you are type thing. And they usually hold their own pretty well. Like they'll take time to learn some things because you drive the finish line different and a little more aggressively. And, there's just things to be learned, just like there is in anything whenever you move up to the next level in anything in life. It's a lot of times because of seat time. What do I mean about that? It's because 20 years ago, there were not a whole lot of like 3-day weekend races with warm-up races and all this stuff. This like nowadays, I would say in the last 5 years, you could almost go to a 3-day race every single weekend in the country somewhere if you wanted to. A lot of people do that for the most part. The math portion, if you're a local racer 20 years ago, from 20 years ago till today, if you race 20 weekends or 20 races per year, if you enter 20 races a year, single entered, so that's 20 weekends for 20 years, that's 400 events that you've entered, right? Now, with all of these multi-day races, if you go to just a 3-day race, we're not counting the warm-up races or the gamblers races or any of that stuff that they have. You enter those same 20 weekends and you have the ability and financial backing to double enter these races, you can get that same 20 years experience and actually a little more in 3.5 years. 3.5 years, you can enter 400 events if you double enter multi-day races. So that means that, let's just say it's 20 years ago. Let's say you're a 16-year-old, you get in a race car immediately. You're 36 years old before you can enter 400 events. That 19-year-old today can get that many laps in a car, that many events entered, that much experience from the time they're 16 till the time they're not even 20 yet. That's why all these guys are so good versus how they used to be. I mean, it's if you're 16 and you follow this path and you have the ability to do it, you could have more seat time by age 20 than someone back in the day could have at the age of 36. That's why all these young kids are so good, man. It's like I feel like the first person to really follow that path is Corey Galletti, and Gage Birch to an extent also. Corey, for sure, in my opinion, Corey is probably the best racer in the country, period, right now. I don't think that there's a lot of people that would argue with that. Maybe there's people who would argue someone's better. But I guarantee you, if they put pen to paper, Corey Galletti is probably the top 3 on that page. Consistently. I mean, ever since that OG Million where he crashed the car and then went to the finals, that dude's been unstoppable ever since then. That's because of that is the reason why everybody really started figuring out who he was across the country. But he showed why his dad said, hey, man, you got to go stage. It's because Corey was liable to win the whole race in a car he hadn't even ran that day. But the facts is that Corey's top tier, and the reason being is because Corey is probably at this point staged for more rounds than a lot of people will stage for in their entire racing career, and he's like maybe 22 years old, 23 years old, something like that. He's not very old.
I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know. He got to be around there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's why those guys are so good though. And he's earned everything. Like he got put in a good position, but I mean, he proves week in and week out the reason why they spend the money on him. It's because he's going to win more money than they spend, know?
Right.
And he wins all those rounds.
Let's take a page out of Wayne Duke here real quick. I know we've mentioned him once on the show already, but he says here that technology on the cars are leaps and bounds better today. I think that's 100% fact. As we all know, the grid's out here as opposed to some MSD 7AL something. You got your race pack data to tell you whatever you want to know about your car, or your fuel tech data, whatever you want to tell. You got your EFIs, all the equipment is much better today than what it used to be. But all things constant, most all of the really good racers who are running these big money programs are getting in 3 years, 20 something odd years worth of racing experience. All those racers have said good equipment. So when they pick on each other, let's just say the playing field is even. What is the difference maker in between the two if they're playing on an even playing field? The answer to that question is seat time. Somebody is going to know, or both of them have ample seat time. We both know that. But all that seat time put together, and you got a Bubba Paschal out there running, or TG out there running, those guys know how to go down the racetrack with more than one game plan. That's basically, I seen somebody say it, because I think it was on Facebook. The other guy in the lane, the guy in the other lane is just there to make things confusing to you. That is his sole objective, especially if he's the aggressor, in my opinion, is to make it look wacky to you and you to respond to him. So there's a lot going on and a lot to be said about Wayne's comment here. The technology of these cars are really, really good, but you still got to have 2 eyeballs and a pretty good brain, and been strapped into said race car for several laps before you become as good as some of the people that we're talking about here, man. Definitely.
Well, and don't forget that, people want to hate on, a lot of people always want to hate on the grid and stuff like that. Don't forget that you have access to that technology too. That's not way out of the price. It's not like it's $15,000, you can find grids all the time used on Drag Race Results, Facebook, classifieds, like $350, something like that. You don't need to have the actual grid panel. It piggybacks off of a legacy box. So you only need the grid unit itself. So that's not way out of someone's range. So if you think that's going to help you out, then you can afford one of those as well. So that's number one. Number two, seat time is absolutely the reason why these drivers are who they are, because perfect example, one of the best drivers to literally ever drive a race car, period, is Nick Hastings. Everyone's going to agree with that. Nick Hastings, I would also say, is not the Nick Hastings he was 2 or 3 years ago when he was racing every single weekend and going everywhere all the time. I mean, Nick Hastings on his worst day is still going to be better than your average above average racer. But he is not the elite Nick Hastings that he was a couple years ago. And I think he would admit that as well, because I think anybody who says that if you can make 500 laps in a year versus making 100 laps, everybody who's honest with themselves is going to say, yes, I would be a better racer if I made 500 laps a year versus 100. That's common sense. It's like if you shoot free throws for basketball, you're going to be better if you're taking shots every night whenever you come home from work. Like, I mean, it's like anything. Golfers, same thing. Practice makes perfect. It's a simple concept. If you hit the tree every single day, I'm not saying you're going to be eons better, but you will be better. Your spread will be better if you make 1,000 hits on the practice tree a day versus 0. And I'm not saying 100 versus 1,000 or 100 versus 200. I'm saying 0 versus 1,000. The 1,000, you will be better. It just is what it is.
Yeah, no question. Not to mention, and Wayne Dukes, he's going off on this YouTube channel, but he's making some real good points. The confidence boost. You got 500 laps under your belt, but you won 300 of those bad boys, or you run 400 of those laps. What is that going to do to your confidence when you're out there on the racetrack, as opposed to George's been racing twice, maybe 3 times this year. I might have 8 passes total. 8 passes total.
Dude.
Now, can I get into a confidence groove? Absolutely, especially once I start understanding that I'm on the tree and the wind line's turning on and Mo's right there behind my back. Okay, now you got something, you got a problem on your hands, okay? But before that, and I have to forcefully or get into a dogfight with somebody who drives the finish line better than I do, and I just so happen to get lucky, yeah, if you watch my GoPro, you'll understand how confident I am. You know what I mean? I might give a few fist pumps and a few choice words. It's just what it is to keep myself pumped up. But that is all relevant. Okay, that many laps equals that much more confident, and it's almost like a Roth IRA. Compounding interest comes behind that confidence. You get confident in a race car, and your race car and the seat time is, you guys are intertwined. You're going to turn on some wind lights, you're going to win some money. And that is the name of the game.
Do you ever notice that at these multi-day events, whoever wins the first day's race or whoever's deep in the first day's race, they're always pretty consistently in 5th, 6th round the next couple days? That's because, and I've been in that position, that's because once you do really good in the first day, your weekend's paid for, you're on cruise control, you're having a good time now, you really don't care, and that's when you drive the best. But it's really hard to not care when you do care a lot, because you need to go out, and that's what's tough sometimes, man, about these mega money races, is you have so much money invested in them that when you get to day 3 and you haven't got past 2nd round or whatever, a 3rd round, and you haven't seen the round money or any of that stuff, and now you got all this extra pressure on you because you're like, man, I just drove 500 miles and I just paid $2,000 after it's all said and done for this weekend, plus took off work and all this stuff, and now I got to really convince myself that this was worth doing, you know? And that's tough. But if you can make it happen those first couple days, and you can go pretty deep those first couple days, man, you can really make some money, because you can just start moseying on through and having a good time. And that's when you really drive good, is whenever, I don't think anybody completely doesn't care ever, but whenever you can get to the point where you just are right on that cusp of, you're like, I care, but I'm just here to have fun. And you can legitimately, honestly feel like that, not fake it. Dude, those are the people who win a lot of races. That's why Underwood won so much, because he always seemed like he was just kind of hanging out.
Hey, honestly, that's a fact, dude. And I've also, I can say the same about having a lot of issues, even though I don't want to have a lot of issues ever at a racetrack. I think the last time I had issues, my air conditioner didn't work on my RV, and it was hot. We're in Texas, it's 110. I got my kids out there. I'm starting to catch cramps every single time I jump into the race car, and I think I end up going like 5 or 6 rounds that day. I don't understand why it all worked that way, but it's something like, all right, if I don't let go good right here, I'm going to catch a cramp anyway, so let go. I don't know if that's what was actually happening, right? But something happened to where things started to go together. I think I saw Donnie Burleson might have won a race here this year and changed the motor and a transmission or something in the car. All that hard work, all that work you're putting into that vehicle is taking your mind off of what you got to go and do when you get up there to the starting line. It's almost like, well, maybe I win, maybe I won't. You know what I mean? The care's kind of gone.
My dad always says that you never do any good if you don't take a beating first, usually, because, and That's the truth, man. I mean, we always, it seemed like anytime we did good, it was because we're beating around. And I was like, man, this is my weekend. My golf cart keeps dying. I'm me
Good.
and
Here
Matthew
it
gonna
is.
gonna go in, me and Matthew gonna go to the finals together. I can tell already.
Here it
And
is.
got close, but no cigar. We're a few rounds short, but
I
all in
heard
all,
that.
man, it was a good weekend. Learned a lot and everything. And you know, the thing I really like, Galat started this year doing round money, and I think I would have been on the, basically it would have been 16 cars or less or whatever. I think Galat might have paid back to 32 actually back in the day. It was pretty good payback, but now that round money, it starts fourth round. Whenever you win third round, you start getting $40 a round until they start paying the real money, and that stuff adds up, man. And those people who say they don't like the round money scenario, I've never personally heard somebody explain to me why they don't like round money. Um, but all that stuff adds up. Like, yeah, it didn't pay for the racing essentially, but it did pay for the diesel fuel in the truck, and it paid for some of the fuel I burnt up. Essentially, it paid for the maintenance on the car for the most part. So every little bit helps, and getting a little taste every once in a while too makes you be like, cool, man, like I did something, even though, like I said, that amount of money doesn't make a difference in your racing program, but it still means something. Like you still went to the tower and collected something.
Yeah, man, something is better than nothing, and it means something to the confidence as well. Because either way you look at it, turned on five win lights, I think, to get to where you got. And those 5 win lights feel good. I don't care if you lost first round and bought back. It doesn't matter. You're in the 5th round. That's gonna feel good, one way or the other. I think you're looking at the YouTube chat. I'm trying to catch up to what's going on too, but looks like they're having a pretty good conversation over there. I'll preface, guys, don't forget Thursday. I believe Thursday we're going to be able to start watching race from Twin 50s. Keep your eye on a couple GBR cars out there. My dad and my uncle will be in attendance. I will not, unfortunately. I have to miss the Twin 50s again. St. Louis, of course, Casey and I, stomping grounds, kind of home track area. Well, not kind of. That is our home track. So, definitely looking forward to watching this event, and it's coming to you from TB Promotions, arguably and notably moving up the line in reputable promotions companies. I'm not gonna put a hierarchy out there yet. It may come down the line, but definitely TB Promotions have worked their way into the top 5, and we can probably push them down a little bit further, especially after the next 2 events that they have. Casey, what you got in closing, man? We always come up on the hour real fast. We definitely needed to talk about seat time. I know that much, man, and kind of get a feel for what everybody else is thinking as on the subject as well.
Yeah, man. Again, everybody needs to subscribe to the YouTube channel over there. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the chat. You'd have a whole lot of stuff to talk about if you were subscribed. I'm just saying, man. So join us live whenever you can, every single Tuesday. But I guess the closing argument that I'm going to pose here is there's only one person in the history of bracket racing whose seat time doesn't matter to. You know who that is? Peter Biondo. He's the only person that can stop racing for years at a time and come back and double up.
Win twice in the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's only one of those people, and none of us are one of them.
Heck, man, at the level of seat time they have, is it really like riding a bike? Because that's the saying. That's like riding a bike. I guess it is. As much seat time as you got, because that's another one. There's no way we're catching as much seat time as Pete Biondo has. No way.
Yep. So. Dude, I'm just saying. There's only one.
Been a fun conversation is all I know. I've learned quite a bit myself and have licked a few wounds myself based on not having enough seat time. So guys, basically what we're saying is when you can, get out there and run that car. Get out there, get into some test and tune. I need to take my own advice there. I don't test and tune enough. Whenever I'm struggling on a tree, get on there and try to carry some numbers. I have to take my own advice because I ain't carrying nothing. Leave that for you to decide if that's true or not. It is what it is. Casey, man, another Tuesday. Everybody out in the chat, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good one and be safe if you're out there racing anywhere.